Hacksaw Ridge. Before I begin this review, I just wanted to say, I totally called it. I did a couple videos this year, one specifically called Why Mel Gibson Deserves a Comeback, way before Bloodfather came out. And look at it, everyone's talking about Hacksaw Ridge, who called it first. Hacksaw Ridge is a beautifully told film with some superb acting, especially from Andrew Garfield. It's based on the true story of Desmond Doss, a soldier who fought in the Battle of Okinawa without ever carrying a single weapon into the battlefield. But besides carrying no weapon, he still managed to save plenty of lives. A lot of fucking lives, apparently. It's a true heroic tale, and in a day and age where we're filled with so many superhero movies, it's so cool to see a true story told of a real life, like, he's kind of like a superhero in some ways. The film does a wonderful job in terms of its portrayal of the time, its theme, its characters. This movie clocks in a little over 2 hours, and they don't get to the war until about like an hour into the film, but that's also part of the beauty of what makes this film so powerful. If you look at the last couple directed Mel Gibson features, Passion of the Christ and Apocalypto, the main thing people end up talking about with those films is how violent those films are. Yes, they're great dramas, but the thing mainly people think about are the violence. Because as we all know, Mel Gibson knows how to capture expertly crafted, stylistic, and real visual violence. Now, while Hacksaw Ridge does have a strong amount of intense graphic war violence, it doesn't come until late into the film, and everything leading up to that is beautifully told. We meet Desmond Doss, played by Andrew Garfield. He's an earnest, kind-hearted young man, so goofy, so charming. He does things early on in this movie when he's hitting on Teresa Palmer that one might think of as creepy, but he pulls it off in the most adorable way. Anyway, when the film starts off, he lives in Virginia with his mother, his brother, and his father, played by Hugo Weaving. The first act of this movie kind of did remind me a little bit of Braveheart in terms of how Braveheart is also another war film, but the first act is really spent on the romantic relationship between William Wallace and the hot chick he was boning at the beginning of the movie. And kind of like this is a war movie. The main character that focuses the first act a lot on the romance of the person who he got engaged to before the war. The person who plays his love interest is Teresa Palmer, playing Dorothy Shute. She was great in Lights Out. She's really wonderful in this too. And the first act of this movie is rather delightful in most of the aspects. Yes, it does explore a lot of the dark elements of Desmond Doss's, traumatized war veteran father and the relationship he has with him. But the romance played by Garfield and Palmer is so genuinely done that you can't help but really smile. Like, the audience, including myself, were laughing at a lot of great moments in the film, and it's a great setup for a lot of what he's, about to risk by going off to war. The scenes of Hugo Weaving as Desmond Doss's father, Tom Doss, are very, very, very effective. Normally when I see Hugo Weaving, he just sounds kind of like another version of Agent Smith, even if he's doing like his British accent or something. Still kind of just reminds me of him. But I haven't seen Hugo Weaving do a role like this, and it's a very three-dimensional performance. He's more than just some like asshole, abusive father. You can feel the conflicted layers of love, plus the violence that he had to endure when he was a soldier. There's specifically one scene that really stands out to me with Hugo Weaving, where he's at the dinner table, the Doss family's at a dinner table, and he's sharing a story. He's reliving this memory of losing one of his best friends in battle, and I think I cried a little bit when I don't remember. I didn't like bawl, but I think I teared up just a little bit. Even though the big advertisement of this film has been Mel Gibson's first feature that he's directed in 10 years. And yes, it was the primary reason for why I went to watch this in the theaters, but like most people, I walked away just really blown away by Andrew Garfield's powerhouse performance. I just love the genuine realism he brought to the role. I felt the writing of the character was great, but this easily could have been put in the hands of another actor who's really trying to win an Oscar. But I definitely didn't feel that way about Andrew Garfield's performance. It's very subtle, it's multi-layered, and there's a strong level of conviction in his performance without ever trying too hard to shine, which in the end makes him really shine. I'd say a good amount of the film, if not maybe most of the film, is spent on when Desmond Doss is in military training. We see that he's definitely one of the more athletic soldiers of the unit, but it's not long before everyone turns their back on Desmond Doss when they learn that due to his religious beliefs as a Seventh-day Adventist, that he will not carry a weapon. He won't even practice with one. The more I think about it, this film just has a really good range of characters, very well written. When he begins going through military training, we get to meet Sergeant Howell, played by Vince Vaughn. I was kind of concerned when they announced that he was going to be in it, because I was kind of like, am I going to be able to get past funny man Vince Vaughn in a historical war drama? I gotta say, this man does a great job. Like, it was a great casting choice because while it's a serious, dramatic role, he also does have some funny lines where you're like, yeah, this is the great actor to balance this out, because it's not a comedic character, but when there's comic lines in there, he pulls it off very well. So it was really nice seeing Vaughn brought into a really dramatic role, adding a nice personality to the film. Captain Glover, played by Sam Worthington. Captain Glover, Danny Glover, Lethal Weapon, co-starred with Mel Gibson. 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, or whatever that's called. That doesn't apply to this situation. Captain Glover was played by Sam Worthington. He was a nice addition to the cast as well. I feel like Sam Worthington is a great actor. To me, he was the only good part of Terminator Salvation. And after starring in one of the biggest films of all time, Avatar, it seems like he hasn't really been getting that many great roles. But I gotta say, in this film, he's another wonderful, subtle addition to the cast. And another couple of standout performers from the group of soldiers were the actors, the Luke actors. Luke Bracey, who you might remember in the Point Break remake, masterpiece right there. He plays Smitty Riker, I believe is how you say it. And everything he did with Point Break is just totally forgiven because he does a wonderful job in Hacksaw Ridge. And Luke Pegler, he plays this character named Hollywood Zane. He's so funny in the film. But anyway, the drama spent on the soldiers trying to get Desmond Doss to quit the army before they head off to war is very, very effective. Like, you're so pulled into the drama of this story that you completely forget that the trailer showed you, yeah, they're supposed to go to war. It's here where we get to truly identify and truly understand the level of conviction Desmond Doss possesses in his values and his morals. One thing I loved about this film was it managed to actually do a great job at keeping away from feeling like a preachy kind of movie. Because yes, this story is definitely a lot about the concept of faith. What faith means to a human being. But it's not about religion. Like, yeah, they established that he's Seventh-day Adventist and he's reading his Bible all the time, but it's really not about that. It's about the morals, the values, the faith this one human being had that made him just as strong as the other soldiers, even if it was in a different way. Like, that level of faith this is also a big story of courage. It's a very inspiring movie. This film to me is not necessarily about promoting Christianity or becoming a Seventh-day Adventist. If anything, it's promoting the idea of how powerful it is to stay true to one's own beliefs. But anyway, after that though, the war scenes, yeah, they're fucking epic. Those are some epic war scenes. Here's where a lot of the credit really does go to Mel Gibson's directorial efforts. He managed to capture the battle sequences in a way that still had the overall tone and feeling of the kind of chaotic mess that was like in the opening or any of the battle sequences in Saving Private Ryan. But he kept the camera smooth enough and the editing sharp enough to the point where we could still easily see what was going on. It was an interesting blend. And the violence in this film is truly effective in the best kind of way. I love when graphic violence is used in a way that truly enhances the aspects of the storytelling. Not where it's like violence and then story. It's like, I love where the violence is something that enhances the whole point of the story. And here, the violence, it hits you so bad, it's so sudden. For the past like hour, maybe hour, 10 minutes or something, you've nestled into the drama, like this moving, heartfelt drama throughout. Then when the violence kicks in, it's so rapid, it's so massive and sudden that you do get a strong vibe of like what the battlefield must be like, some terrifying, horrific, violent experience. Because it comes in late into the film that we spent so much time with characters who have never been in a battle before, that by the time they get to the battle, we're able to feel their first time experiencing this. And yes, one of the big true stories of this film is how this man, Desmond Doss, was all about like, so many people are killing each other in war, I want to save people. I don't want to give anything away. I mean, I know you could probably look up online and find out all the true accounts that he did and how he saved so many lives. I didn't know the details to it, but watching it portrayed in this film, when he's being like full-on hero, boy, could not help but cry. I kind of want to tear up again right now, honestly. It was so fucking moving. Like, it was so inspiring, and just feeling that level of faith and persistence just makes you so motivated, and it really is one of those things of going against the odds so much. And if I had to like think of a complaint for the film, I guess I would say it's really just the way it ended. Like, the ending was good, but I would have liked to have seen the aftermath of the characters and of the war, because how this movie ends, you know, without really giving it, it's not a spoiler, it's just they cut to footage of a lot of the characters that we have focused on. They cut to the real life footage of them all. And while it's great, I still was like, from my own personal little needs, I wanted to still see the film show me some of this stuff, not cut to like the documentary footage. So while I would have liked to have seen certain aftermath moments in the realm of the film, I can't lie to you guys, I really did cry too at some of the documentary interview stuff. This film is a tear fest. Earlier this year I watched a movie called La La Land. It's not supposed to come out until December. I was fortunate enough to see it at the Zurich Film Festival. That I declared easily as my favorite movie of 2016. And while La La Land might still be my favorite film of the year because you just feel a little better when you watch that film, the more I think about Hacksaw Ridge, it might take the #1 spot. If anything, it's definitely a close second. Anyway, rating system time. It's a masterpiece. Chew up on that rating system. Anyway, rejects, subscribe today and get accepted. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm coming up with an outro. I'm ending the video right about now.